Welcome to Soul Trek. This episode is entitled A Whack a Day. Welcome. Well, it's been a few weeks since we put out one of these videos. My apologies for that. I have to get back into a regular habit of doing it because I'm starting to forget the technology of how to piece one of these things together. So I hope this one works out and I hope you enjoy it. Whack a day. Many years ago, I had a spiritual director, and one day he said to me, you know, every so often on our spiritual journey, we need a kick in the pants. Except he didn't use the expression kick in the pants. He liked to speak in metaphors and little stories, which I like to as well. And so he told me a story, sort of a little image that he remembered from his childhood. He remembered on the farm they used to have these leftover hoops that used to hold barrels, wooden barrels together. And, you know, when the barrel had disintegrated or whatever, they'd have these leftover hoops. And as a boy, they used to roll them down the road, and they would carry a stick with them. And every so often, they'd whack the hoop to keep it rolling. Sometimes it might just kind of lose its momentum, and they'd whack it, and it would keep going. Or it'd slip into a rut in the road, and they'd whack it to keep it going. Or it might hit a rock and start to waver off in the other direction, and they would whack it to keep it going. And as he was telling me this story, I remembered a film I had seen back in university when I was taking a class on world religions. They showed us this film about different types of meditation from around the world. And they showed this group of Tibetan monks. They were sitting in a circle meditating, and according to the narrator, they were meditating for hours upon hours, just sitting there meditating. And there was one monk who was, these monks were all in a circle, so there's this one monk who was sort of circumnavigating that circle, walking around, and the narrator said that this was one of the monks who was really good at meditating. He was so good that he could meditate while walking, and so he was walking around the group. And every so often, one of the monks might kind of lean backwards a little bit, and when this monk that was walking around came to them, he also happened to have this big stick, and he would whack him in the shoulders with the stick, and then the monk would go back to meditating, and he would continue navigating around, and then another monk would lean back, and he'd get a whack in the back of the neck. And according to the narrator, when you're meditating for that long, your body can get stiff and sore as it's doing that, and this was a way of sort of relieving the body of that tension, to kind of lean back and get whacked in the back to help them continue in this process of meditation. So the reality is that every so often we need a kick in the pants or a whack in the back, or to have our hoop increase its momentum or whatever, or its stability just by a little whack. Now, there's nothing in what I'm saying today that suggests in the remotest way that I'm giving people permission to go around whacking people in the back. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, if you identify people you think need a whack, that's kind of like the parable that Jesus tells about, you know, how can you take the speck out of your neighbor's eye when you got a 2x4 in your own eye? So that's not what this is about at all. But this is about recognizing that on our own spiritual journey, on our own day-to-day life, sometimes in order to get that momentum back, we need to find ways of getting a whack, somebody, something to help us continue on our way. And I know it's challenging. It's absolutely challenging. You know, here on Prince Edward Island, we've just entered into a more restrictive period in terms of what we're allowed to do because of the pandemic. And, as I listen to our Premier and the Chief Medical Officer over the last few months, I'm kind of struck by one of the things they constantly say, and that is that they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think good for them, because I don't always see it. I'm sure it's there. I'm absolutely sure it's there. And but it's awfully easy to become COVID cranky in the midst of all of this. And I need to find in my own spiritual journey, even for something as kind of as real as that, I need to find ways of getting a whack in my back to help me keep that momentum. And that's what I'm really encouraging today for all of us, that we find those things. And it could be prayer. It could be a piece of music. There's some pieces of music that just kind of get me going. It could be just doing self-affirmations. There's all kinds of things that we can do to give us small and significant whacks in our backs. I'm just noticing a bird in the window there. Just kind of cool. I think it was a blue jay. We have an awful lot of blue jays in our neighborhood right now. You might have to scroll backwards if you missed there was, I think it was a blue jay in the window there. So there are things that happen. There are things that we can avail ourselves to help us get a whack in the back, to help stabilize us, to help us on our journey. And it might be simply calling up a friend and saying, I'm feeling really down today. Let's just chat. Let's chat about the weather. Let's chat about hockey. Let's chat about whatever. And sometimes it's something as simple as that to help stabilize us and give us some momentum to get through this day or this week or this month, until we can all start to see that light at the end of the tunnel. So that's the advice today on our soul trek, on our spiritual journey, that we find ways of getting a whack in the back. Thank you.